Am I naughty for telling my sister it's her own fault she's alienated from the family? I am one of 3 siblings, 29F, 27F, me, and 22M. This all started about 5 years ago, when my older sister came to me and told me she was looking into our genealogy and wanted me to do one of those novelty genetics tests. I wasn't enthusiastic about it, but she was weirdly insistent, so I gave her the samples she asked for and moved on, not really giving it much more thought. At no point did I have a digital login for any results. I also never thought to mention this to my parents. A few months after this, sister moved 6 hours away for another job and was non-communicative. She would call dad every once in a while, but brother and I found that if we didn't call, text her first, we wouldn't hear from her, and she basically cut mum off outright. When questioned about this, she would refuse to acknowledge that's what she was doing. Ultimately, we all just accepted it. Mum was totally baffled and broken-hearted, and the rest of us naturally became less close with sister as a result. Even she and dad only talk a few times a year now, and none of us have seen her in person in 5 years. Earlier this year, brother did 23andMe and got weird results that led to hard conversations. Mum and dad came clean that the 3 of us were donor-conceived, a choice they made because dad is infertile. They apologized for not telling us earlier, but dad felt strongly about not telling us because he never wanted us to think of him as any less our dad. Dad called sister and told her this too after we talked, and she basically had a breakdown on the phone. It turns out that she knew dad wasn't her bio father, and firmly believed for 5 years that mum had cheated on dad and had been nursing intense resentments as a result. Apparently she did a genetics test 5 years ago and was puzzled that the ancestry info didn't match with what we knew about dad's family. That's when she came to me to get a sample. She sent it to a lab with hers, and they confirmed the results were genetic half-siblings, with the same mother and different fathers. She drew her own conclusions from there, that dad was my bio father and not hers, and that mum had had an affair, and uprooted her life to get a fresh start. She's now furious about the situation and feels like she's been robbed of the last 5 years. When we last talked, I was maybe less sympathetic than I should have been and told her cutting us off with no explanation was an insane move, and if she'd told us even a fraction of what was going on, it could have been cleared up years ago. I acknowledged mum and dad messed up here by not being truthful about our genetic identities, which I'm also struggling with my own feelings on, but in the end, it was her decision to do this dramatic move and slow fade with zero explanation. I also expressed how hurt brother and I had been to be left out of her life, and that it wasn't fair to punish us for what she thought had happened. Am I naughty? Am I naughty for disposing my pads in my boyfriend's bathroom? My boyfriend, 23M, and I, 18F, have been together for about 3 months now, and this is the first time I've spent the night over at his flat while I was on my period. Since yesterday, I've been changing my pads in his bathroom, and each time, I wrap the used pad in a plastic wrapper and put it in the trash can. The trash can has a lid and there's a plastic garbage bag in there, so the pad was touching nothing but the trash that was already inside. I genuinely didn't think it was a big deal, until my boyfriend took out the trash this morning and noticed the plastic wrappers in the bag. He knew they were the packaging for my pads because he had seen them before, and quite outraged, he asked whether my used pads were also in that bag. I told him yes, and he dropped the bag, calling me disgusting and telling me to take out the trash myself. I did, but then asked him where else I should have put my pads, and he told me I could have just kept them in my purse until I got home. I'm staying at his place for 3 nights because we both have some time off, and I wasn't going to keep my used pads in my bag for days on end. Imagine the smell. He stated that he didn't want my blood all over his trash and that I should find another way to dispose my pads ASAP. I don't think my attempt of an explanation why period blood isn't as disgusting as the thinks it is got through to him, and he's quite set on his opinion. I think he was a bit childish because I don't understand how an adult straight man can be so disgusted by period blood, but when I texted my brother, 19M, about it, he sided with my boyfriend. As I've been outnumbered, I wanted to see whether other people also believe what I did was a mean move. Comments: not naughty and please dump him. I mean that sincerely. Get you a man who helps you change the bed sheets when you leak, not a man who is outraged over a used pad in the trash. Yes, this. Please put him in the trash. Get yourself an adult boyfriend. Women's bodies are not gross. Imagine him having daughters with him behaving like this. Not naughty. Am I naughty for refusing to bring food to someone else's barbecue that I got invited to? Context: I am 29. and my fiancé, F28, were invited to a friend's barbecue last week. This isn't the first time we've been invited round, this is the third. The first 2 times, let's call her Lexi. Lexi rang my fiancé and said, just bring some food for the barbecue. Okay, cool, I thought, bring some burgers, sausages, nothing too fancy. So we turn up and Lexi and her family, ex 2 daughters and partner, are all there, barbecue fired up but nothing on it. So turns out I was the one supplying the food for everyone as they were hosting. I don't think this is normal, not from my upbringing anyway. I did have enough food to go around, wasn't an incredible barbecue though. Second time, same conversation, this time I took a little bit less as we only got back from lunch a couple hours prior to this event as it was slightly last minute. They all looked disappointed I hadn't taken as much food as previously, not really my problem, and I only had 1 burger so they could have more food between them. Here's my biggest problem. Last week the usual happens, so we go to the barbecue. However, I refused to bring any food as I genuinely believe they should at least put out some crisps or something. I know they are hosting, but surely this isn't normal. Upon a more discovery I didn't bring any food, the atmosphere changed, and Lexi suggested, we go to the shop to pick some stuff up. I said, no problem, I'll drive and come with you. We get the food, which she has picked out all the expensive meats, rolls, crisps, etc. When we arrive at the till to buy the items she looks at me to pay. I refused. Car journey back to their house was awkward and I left with my partner immediately. My fiancé thinks I'm right but also could have bitten the bullet and then just said we're busy for any future invites. I disagree and believe I did the right thing by informing them that this isn't normal cultural, for me anyway. Am I naughty for how I acted? Do you have a secret little subreddit that is a favorite? Share it in the comments and it could become the next big thing. Am I naughty for calling my friend disgusting during a time I was supposed to be supporting him? My friend James, chapter 24, is struggling with his girlfriend. They've been together for almost 3 years, but he has gotten increasingly unhappy. He asked me to get coffee yesterday so he can do some venting. It's okay, I vent to him too. It's a cool perk of our friendship. We were drinking our coffee and I was letting him talk and he brought up her weight pretty quickly. I admit she has gained significant weight since they began dating. I believe James said she's gone up 3 or so pant sizes. James was saying how he does love her, he finds her plenty attractive still, and enjoys bedroom time very much. But then he started saying the problem is how it makes him look. He said he doesn't want to be the guy with the heavy girlfriend, and he hates when he goes out with groups of people and girlfriend is the biggest girl there all the time. He says he's not really sure there's a good way for him to bring any of this up too. I got mad at what he was saying. His GF is one of the sweetest humans I've ever met. I know she deals with some mental health irregularities as well that probably contribute to her inability to lose weight. I told James that he's a total bum exit wiener face and I didn't meet him to listen to him fat shame a wonderful woman. I thought the problems were deeper. I told him we were done and went home. He's blown up my phone half apologizing and half saying that I agreed to hear him vent so I can't get mad at what he's venting about. I'm torn on if I was in the right to cut our vent sesh short. Am I naughty? I'm insistent that our school refund students, parents for a cancelled event, principal disagrees and is angry with me. I am an 8th grade teacher, Florida, United States, at a Title I school, a school with a high percentage of students, families in poverty. Last week we hosted an 8th grade week in which students could pay to participate in activities. I won't list the multitude of ways in which this was a shit show. The one thing I am taking a strong stance on is movie day. 80 students paid $15 each to watch a movie in the auditorium with snacks provided. Due to no fault of the school, movie day was cancelled because the district didn't say until the last minute that the movie choice was not approved. Okay, so we refund the money, right? Students were told that day that we would. But instead the principal turns around and decides to give students a tumbler mug instead of a refund. I have strongly vocalized my opposition to this, but in turn have been berated by my principal, for an hour this morning, no exaggeration. She even had someone cover my class, that I am making a big fuss over nothing, casting shadow on her integrity and that students and parents prefer the mug over the refund. BS. She says any dissatisfied parents should call her and state they want a refund. I said it's unfair to put the onus on the parents when a refund should have been the automatic response to the cancellation of the activity. So, am I naughty for continuing to insist we give the refund? My principal has no intention of doing so, so I plan to email the district school board next. Before doing so, I figured I'd get some good old Reddit input. Would you be satisfied with a mug in place of cash refund? Am I naughty for accepting the suggestion and not coming back, ruining a family dinner? I'm known in the family to be a control freak about preparing food. In fact, in my family, there are 2 dinners in the year that all members come, in all 30 people. And before I took over, all dinners were extremely late. There was always some problem with seasoning or poor preparation. I'm organized, and for every meal, I have a spreadsheet with everything I need to make a huge-scale dinner. At first, they didn't respect it, but after seeing that my method was useful, everyone joined in and allowed me to be the head of the organization. Since then, dinners are ready on time, everyone praises and repeats the dish, not very common. It's 1 to 2 days for preparing meals. I don't ask them to help me, because I know I'm serious with organization, but if the person wants to, I ask them to respect the process. Another fact, my mother was a cook, for 1 year, and my sil is studying gastronomy. The situation. Sunday was the half-yearly dinner and I was the head as usual. Would help me, my sil, mother, aunt and uncle. This would be SIL's first family dinner and she offered to help. During the preparation, my mother started to do several things wrong, and every time I said something, she said something like, "Stay calm, a wrong thing will not lead to anything." The problem is that she did so much wrong, skipping so many necessary steps in the food that most things I had to redo or give a second look. She continued to help even though I said it wasn't necessary. I broke down when I just commented something about steps with my sil and she corrected me. I was going to comment, but my mother said, "I think you better cool off in the pool and let those with experience sort it out." I accepted, grabbed a glass of wine, the spreadsheet with me and spent the whole day in the pool, ignoring when asked to come back. So, dinner was late, poorly seasoned, undercooked and no one had a second dish. My mother later said that I ruined dinner and humiliated our family in front of relatives in revenge. I shouldn't take that serious, because it was a silly family joke. By the way, I love making these dinners, and yes, my mother's sil behavior is common. Am I naughty? Someone asked for examples of what she did wrong. She put too much salt on one of the meats and it was inedible. There had to be 10 of something for the food and she cut it in half because it was too much. It wasn't. She started to make rice very early, and we use the pan first for other food and the rice is last because it is the biggest and heaviest pan. My spreadsheet basically has the amounts and how long each cooking ingredient goes. I point out when they get the quantities wrong, too much or too little, or when they start making food that is for a long time before or after. Share your story in the comments, I would love to add them to a video.